theswirlworld.com, podcast episode 115.
The Swirl World.
Interracial.
Diverse.
Beautiful.
Today's shout out goes to Daryl E. McCullough, Carmen Miller, and Rashawn Bryant of the Full Circle podcast. This party of three shares their opinions covering a full circle of subjects ranging from current events, politics, race relations, religion, marital, and relationship woes. Detroit, Michigan native Rashawn views all things Democrat. The Cleveland, Ohio native and author Daryl McCullough, also known as the Same Poet, views almost all things conservative. And Toledo, Ohio native and songstress Carmen Miller views all things independent. Between the three of them, you're assured of an interesting show. You can find their website at fullcirclepodcastshow.com. Again, our shout out goes to Rashawn, Daryl, and Carmen of the Full Circle Podcast Show. And now, let's check out today's podcast, where we discuss longevity in interracial marriages between Black women and white men. Keep listening.
And, the number one thing I tell them is that men are men, so don't expect for him to be a white knight. It's not going to save you from anything, but you also have to open your heart sometimes and close your eyes as far as looking at what's out there, because there are plenty of non-Black men that are interested in us.
Greetings and welcome to another edition of the Swirl World podcast. This is your co-host, Michelle Matthews Calloway. In the Swirl World, we celebrate Black women and the diverse men who love them. Our guest today is April Poindexter French. And today we're focusing on longevity in interracial relationships. April, say hi and tell our guests a little bit about yourself.
Well, hello, Swirl World. My name is April French, and I have been in an interracial relationship for, most of my adult life. I've been married to my husband. This October 15th will be our 24th anniversary. So we've been married for a little while. We have 3 sons, and, life is good. We're happy to be together, and, thank you so much for having me on.
Well, now 24 years, and when you said you've been married pretty much most of your adult life, when you look back and think about that, it's like, gosh, that's a long time. So tell us about how you all met and the whole backstory on April. And I believe your husband's name is Bryan. So on April and Bryan, what's the story?
Yeah, and you know what? You're right. It is. It's most of my adult life. So we grew up together. Essentially, we grew up together, learning each other. And but Bryan and I met. We knew each other in high school, but we didn't date in high school. Bryan was very good friends with my younger brother, and actually was a year ahead of him, even though we are the same age. Was a year ahead of him. So we didn't interact in high school at all, but we knew each other. It was not until I'd gone off to college and come home for a break that we met and, started talking. And we had a first date that didn't go very well at all, so we didn't see each other again for about 6 months. And I was on another break, and so we always say that it was fate because, otherwise, don't know how to explain us getting together. So I came home again on another break. I believe it was a spring break, and we ran into each other again at a local mall. The backstory, though, is Bryan had been keeping tabs on me, and my brother told him where I was going to be. So he kind of knew where I was going to be, and kind of inserted himself and oh, hey, how you doing? And so, we had a second date, and it went very well, and essentially we've not been apart since.
I love how he inserted himself into fate and, visualizing the little Cupid, the little angel with the arrow, and him saying, help me out, help me out, help me out.
I thought when I found out about it, he didn't tell me till much later, but I thought, wow, that really says something about him as a person, really going after what he thought he wanted. And so I thought, well, that's more women should be like that, not to be manipulative or anything like that, but really go after what you want and kind of make it happen. So I always thought, I got to have respect for him. He kept tabs on me, and yeah, he goes, he said you were going to be there, so I sat there for like 2 hours. I'm like, oh my God, I probably wouldn't have sat there for 2 hours for anybody, but so I always thought that was cute.
Well, the good thing is, obviously, you were worth it. So kudos to him for.
Yeah. Yes, for sure. So yeah, it's really been a thrilling ride, Michelle. We haven't had a lot of downs in our marriage, and I'm really grateful for that. Not perfect by any means, but I'm really blessed to have found my other half. And not a lot of people can truly say that. And when you do find it, you realize how blessed you are. And the fact that my husband is, a man of, he's not black, that has never really been a real big issue for us. We obviously, we ran into some issues with other people, but we just kind of learned that we really don't control what other people think about us. And, if you're looking to be accepted by society, you're setting yourself up for a failure, because not everyone is going to agree with what you're doing. And I tell that I get a lot of young black women that reach out to me, some older too, but mostly younger women, because I think they're a little bit more open-minded to dating outside. And, the number one thing I tell them is that men are men, so don't expect for him to be a white knight. It's not going to save you from anything, but you also have to open your heart sometimes and close your eyes as far as looking at what's out there, because there are plenty of non-black men that are interested in us. But black women in particular are I would say that we are very loyal. We're very loyal to our race. And there's nothing wrong with that, because, I like to think of myself as being pro-black. And there's nothing better than trying to be there for each other, but love should really be, I think, colorblind. And I think a lot of our black women we're so hung up on, well, I have to preserve this, or I have to be there for them because no one else is. Who's there for you, though?
Right. That's so true. That's so true. And you mentioned something really interesting. You said that you two, looking back at how you've been married for 24 years and been married most of your adult life, you grew up together pretty much. And how do you think that accounts for the longevity? Because I think of couples who grow apart instead of growing together.
Michelle, that's a great question. And I think that we definitely grew up together. We were 20 years old when we started dating. And so we were both young and very naive about things, but we knew that we wanted to be together. So I think there's no secret ingredient to making a marriage work, but I think the one most important thing is never losing that connection. So even though we were just kids, we never lost a connection of what first attracted us to each other. And I'm very good about reaffirming my feelings for my husband all the time. even when I don't feel like it. And he does the same for me. So I think that our longevity has come from just not taking each other for granted. And trust me, there are periods and moments in time in our marriage where we've done just that. I don't think you can be human and not take each other for granted. But the biggest thing for me is when I see that happening, I will always say to him, you know, I really am a prize, and get your stuff together. So I think, you know, just not taking each other for granted and just remembering what made you fall in love with that person to begin with. And, you know, every day is not going to be perfect, but just the affirmation that you want to be with that person, because you touched on something that's very important. People grow apart. And even when you're still in love with that person, growing up with them, you know, you see things that you go, oh, I didn't notice that before. And I think the only way to deal with that is to address it and to, you know, I think people just decide, oh, I'm not going to try to change this person. And we shouldn't try to change each other, but we also shouldn't accept things that we find unacceptable. So I think when couples grow apart, it's generally because someone stopped trying. Someone really stopped trying.
Yeah. You know, those are such excellent tips, and I appreciate you sharing your heart and sharing what you did. Now, during the course of these 24 years, you guys have some children, right?
Yes, we do. We have 3 sons, Brian Jr., Brandon, and Brendan. We have three boys, and, yeah, you know, they're just great kids. And I hesitate to say this, but I'm a grandmother, too. Our oldest son has a daughter. She's 2 months old. So, yeah, we're now going into, you know, a second generation.
Wow. That's beautiful. And that's what really family is all about. So you guys are such a wonderful example of that, and we're going to be providing some photos so they can see just how beautiful you are. And I look at your photos and I see the adoration and admiration in your husband's eyes, and it's a wonderful thing. And I love the fact that we're able to showcase you in this way.
Well, you know, I really appreciate it, because I think it's important to show that, you know, these relationships do work. They do. They're like any other relationship, take work and effort, but they do work. And I think you even mentioned that black women have a higher success rate of marrying interracially. So that's important for my young sisters to know. And, you know, even my older sisters who are having a second start in life, to close your eyes, open your heart. There are men out there who don't look like you, who are willing to love you. We just have to be willing to step outside the box. That's my biggest thing, is don't forget who you are, but step outside the box, and you really might find your soulmate.
That's so true. Now, I know you're an artist, so tell us a little bit about that, because you have that creative side, and I know your husband is very supportive of the things that you engage in and your passion. So tell us a little bit about that before we wrap up.
Sure. And, yeah, he is very supportive. You know, Michelle, I decided about 15 years ago that I wanted to quit my job and start a hair company. And my husband said to me, really? I said, yeah, I think that's what I want to do. So I started this hair company, and the sales, you know, they're pretty slow at first, and then I just started really going at it. And he came home one day, and he goes, oh, my goodness, you are so busy. So, and I said to him, see, I told you I could do this. So I did that. I sold the business. We sold that business probably about 7 years ago. And then I said, you know what? I want to sing. And he goes, you sing already. I said, no, I want to sing professionally. So he said, okay. So I started doing that. Even though I've been singing my whole life, I started singing professionally. I just really just started doing it. And, yeah, he's always been supportive. And we have a band called the Ladies of Soul. And even though my husband has his own career, he is our sound guy. So he goes to every gig with us and sets up the equipment, runs it for us. And, yeah, just a great guy. And the band is amazing, too. We play a lot locally. We do some national shows. I'm working on getting us to Europe, but that's it's harder said than done, but we're trying. And, yeah, you can find us on Facebook, Ladies of Soul. And we're a 7-piece party band, 3 ladies up front, 4 musicians in the back. And then I have another band called Deja Blue where it's just myself singing. And I have 4 backing musicians. And I have a couple of songs on iTunes and Spotify. So, yeah, I'm just tapping into my creative side, always trying to keep busy.
That's awesome. And we're going to provide the links to all of that so people can go and download your song and listen to your music. And I'm so inspired. I'm always inspired when I talk to you, inspired when I visit your Facebook page and see your posts and your photos. And so it's a pleasure to have you on the show today. And I appreciate you taking the time out to come and talk with us.
Oh, it was my pleasure, Michelle. Really, I love you guys over at Swirl World. So, yeah, it was actually an honor for you to even reach out to me. So I appreciate it.
Well, all right, that's our show for today, and we will post all of the social media information for April, and I know you guys are going to love the photographs that we're going to also put to go along with this podcast so you can see April and Bryan and their sons. And I just, again, appreciate the fact that you are a role model and an example for, as you stated, the younger Black women and also women who are entering a second season of life to know that love is out there. As you said, if they step outside the box and open up their mind, that they can find love just like you did. So thank you so much.
You're very welcome. Thank you.
Bye, April. Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
That's our show, and we'll see you on the next broadcast. Take care, and in the meantime, keep swirling.
Thanks for listening. Make sure to like The Swirl World on Facebook and subscribe to the blog at theswirlworld.com.
Head on over to iTunes and subscribe to the podcast or listen directly from our Facebook page.
We can also be heard on SoundCloud and Stitcher Radio.
The Swirl World.
Interracial.
Diverse.
Beautiful.